When 21st century humans take a look at the past, it seems riddled with healthcare practices and products that often presently seem counterintuitive and harmful. From radioactive elements such as radium and thorium being present in makeup products through the early to mid 20th century, to lobotomizing uncooperative patients with histories of mental health issues, the norms associated with daily life just decades ago seem to have direct association with danger. But what sets the 21st century human apart from humans just a couple decades ago? Is it the understanding that came with prior experiences, or is danger still present in a more contemporary fashion? According to the European Environment Agency, there are around 800 known or suspected endocrine disruptors present in everyday products like metal, cans, and plastics, but most notably, food and food packaging, cosmetics and personal care products, and clothing. Endocrine disruptors such as bisphenol A, better known as BPA, polychlorinated biphenyls, and PFAS are toxic synthetic chemicals that are widespread in everyday life and are exposed to the modern public on a daily basis. These synthetic chemicals yield carcinogenic effects in humans and directly harm the environment from exposure. PFAS specifically are positively correlated with kidney cancer, testicular cancer, thyroid disease, liver damage, and can also result in developmentally stunted fetuses. This issue is one that involves the general human population, and it serves as a reminder to understand the greater chemical world around you. However, there are individuals who seem to be most targeted by this issue. These individuals include pregnant mothers and mothers with small children, people who are living in situations that force them to be exposed to these synthetic chemicals daily, and those that are in a position to make change and/or impose regulations on these harmful chemicals. As previously mentioned, makeup products in the early to mid-20th century, more specifically the 1930s, incorporated newfound radioactive elements, radium and thorium, into their products, advertising a sort of mythicality to their products that interested their consumer base. One such product was the, quote, miracle cream Thoridia that boasted its radioactive components as a marketing mechanism, with the label explaining that the product was capable of giving the consumer a, quote, glowing complexion. Other radioactive products were widespread upon the discovery of radioactive elements, as radioactivity was a concept not thoroughly understood at the time. As such, products such as energy drinks and hair treatments were advertised based on their radioactive qualities. Eventually, the use of radioactive agents in products was managed by the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938. This act prevented deceptive packaging from being distributed to customers. As such, the labels present on many radioactive products could no longer be printed, and thus unsubstantiated claims promoted by these companies could no longer be peddled. These practices had less of an effect on individuals that consumed the products and an enhanced effect on individuals that work in factories that manufactured these products. One example of this lies in the, quote, radium girls, who were women that worked in a warehouse that specialized in painting radium on watches to make them glow in the dark. The women were instructed to, quote, keep the brushes pointed using their lips. This led to the development of radium jaw, where the bones in one's jaw become weakened by necrosis. The concept that employees of manufacturing companies are most at risk for harmful chemical and/or radioactive exposure is one that still rings true in the present day. Many people seem to overlook potential areas for harm in everyday life in favor of focusing on past vitality blunders. As previously stated, there are harmful chemicals present in everyday food, clothes, and personal care products, and many more. In order to adequately address the issue, the topic will be divided into an explanation of both BPA and PFAS. Bisphenol A was first synthesized in 1891 by chemist A.P. Dianin, who achieved synthesis by combining 2 molecules of phenyl and 1 molecule of acetone. BPA's properties allow it to act as a weak hormone on a biological scale, ultimately leading to its action as an endocrine disruptor. Endocrine disruptors mimic, block, or interfere with the body's hormones. In 1997, a study was conducted aiming to quantify the effects, if any, that bisphenol A might have on biological processes as a synthetic compound. The study was conducted by feeding pregnant mice with low doses of BPA, 2 micrograms per kilogram per day, which ultimately led to the development of reproductive abnormalities and adverse effects, demonstrating that even at low quantities, bisphenol A can act as a harmful reagent. The potential harmful effects of bisphenol A took the world by storm in the early 2000s, because not only was this chemical mass-produced and distributed across many sectors, but it was present in necessary infrastructure such as water main pipes, laptops, cell phones, and not to mention hospital equipment. It seemed as though purging BPA entirely from use would have catastrophic consequences and would require the demolition of nearly every infrastructural sector, essentially the removal of BPA from everyday life seemed impossible. Even so, countries such as Canada, as well as countries a part of the EU, have banned BPA in products such as baby bottles, attempting to at least partially regulate the use of BPA in consumer products. Although BPA is one of the most prevalent synthetic compounds found in the modern day, it's not nearly the only one. The first PFAS compound was synthesized in 1938 by Roy G. Plunkett under the authority of a company called DuPont de Nemours. PFAS, like BPA, is directly harmful to human health and causes changes in cholesterol levels and liver enzymes. It also affects the immune system and causes increased risk for preeclampsia and high blood pressure in pregnant women. Also like BPA, PFAS can be found in everyday appliances, most commonly pots and pans, because PFAS coatings resist heat, oil, stains, grease, and water. Regulations have been placed on the limits of PFAS forever chemicals in drinking water by the EPA to prevent serious illnesses like cancer. So who's most at risk? Upon hearing about all these harmful side effects that come with the exposure to these toxic synthetic chemicals, it might come as a shock to you that these chemicals are present in everyday lives of those who live in countries like the United States. However, it's important to note the risk factor of these chemicals is not equivalent in every person. For example, earlier we highlighted the fact that pregnant women and their babies can be put at serious risk from exposure to these chemicals. It's also important to note that in addition to pregnant women, who are often exposed to these chemicals at a higher rate, e.g. people who work with these chemicals daily, are actually known to have a higher amount of these synthetic chemicals in their system. For example, receipts and other thermal papers are known to have BPA levels that are 250 to 1,000 times higher than BPA found in food products. Just by touching these receipts, the synthetic chemicals can enter your skin barrier. People that handle receipts on a daily basis, such as cashiers, are known to have BPA present in their bodies at higher levels than the average person. In order to maintain health in the face of all these harmful chemicals, measures must be taken on the individual level. Currently, there are minimal regulations to prevent the production of these synthetic chemicals in the United States, so it's especially important that individuals look out for themselves and those around them. The EU currently has the strictest laws concerning the regulations on synthetic chemical production, and they use a very important principle to justify the regulations, and that is that it's better to be safe than sorry. Although these synthetic chemicals have evidence to support that they are harmful to human health, it's not known to what extent they are harmful. This is probably why there's such little regulation in the United States. The extent of harm is unknown. Regardless of what the extent is, if we know that something may harm our health directly, we would all be more cautious to stay away from such a thing and tell those around us to keep themselves safe as well.